That was a funny tight moment. How was it, bro? How was it? Just checking the body. Boys, I've been told about this bloody ripper party up the coast. I say we go, it's gonna be let's go. Let's go. Road trip. Alright, say. Right. Basically just follow the highway up and boys, I need to know.
My eldest son came stomping into the house. He jumped down the stairs, he put his arm on Bryce's bed and he wasn't in there. And he let out this almighty yell, which woke us up. We come in, we said, "What's wrong, mate?" And he said, "There's been a crash at Byron Bay. We think Bryce is in it." It wasn't until about 9:30 that morning that two police or lady police officers came down our driveway. And in their hands was Bryce's wallet, his keys and mobile phone, and that's all that came home. But when you get 4 young or 5 young people together, sense and sensibility goes out the window. And unfortunately in this case 4 young men were killed as a result of a poor decision by that driver to overtake that car.
When the service ended, friends released balloons in memory of Bryce. As hundreds filed out of the church, his parents and brothers were comforted by family and the parents who also lost their sons. Mitchell Everly loved heavy metal and the guitar. Friends formed a guard of honour for the teenager as families said goodbye. The boys who died, Corey New and Paul Morris, whose funerals will be held tomorrow. She will have to say goodbye to her 16-year-old son, Paul.
Part of the job of being a local news reporter is that you have to make contact and interview families who are going through really difficult circumstances. And after that crash, as part of our job, we had to speak to the families, to see them grapple with the emotion of losing their son, their brother. It was just tragic. And then we had to go to the funerals of those 4 boys over 2 days and to see the community struggling with the enormity of the tragedy. The families, the teachers, the school children, the sporting clubs. It was something that Lismore had not come up against before, and I certainly hope that community never has to see that tragedy again. The Southern Cross Lads organisation based at Lismore plans to build a driver education training facility that will give them skills to make better decisions on the road and make them safer drivers. Please support this important project. It could save your son or your daughter's life.
Glenn had been with 2 other friends picking up in a borrowed ute a diff, and they overcorrected coming down Springvale Hill and had an accident and went over the side. Glenn was found by a girl going to Nimbin for a hippie weekend, hanging upside down, technically impaled on a piece of steel on the side of his head. We were told he had 1% chance of living, and we think we worked out after that really wasn't very much. Just hell broke out. Everything happened. He had head bleeds, he had strokes, he He had operation after operation, decided he'd stay with us. Yeah. And the hardest thing is we had to, at one stage, was tell him that if he needed to go with God, he'd better go. But he didn't. We were told to bring him home and put him in a nursing home. And Trevor and me decided that no, we would bring him home if it didn't work. We had a nursing home bed down here for 18 months and I done it at home. Glenn is blind. Glenn has a traumatic brain injury, which means his balance is pretty bad. He had a stroke down the right side, which means he can't technically use his right hand. Glenn's accident has changed our lives. It's made us realise that we can do a lot more than what we've ever done.
Oh yeah!
One of the service providers said that they have a music therapy, and I went, oh yeah, righto. Glenn, yeah, is really participating, and the biggest thing is that he brought this hand that he doesn't use over to play the organ, which was, oh my God, amazing, just amazing. It's a 24-hour job. It is a 24-hour job. That's all right, it's life. We're pretty lucky. Could have been dead. He could have been dead. It is ongoing. Yeah, it's ongoing. That's all it is. We're parents. If it happens, it happens. And yeah, we're parents. Southern Cross Lads is just fabulous. I think it's the best idea for our local people, our young people, and I think it'll all come across a lot of ages, even to people who have got caravans to learn to reverse. I'll have to put my hand up. I think it's going to help all of our young people in a lot of areas. Adults too, because it's hard teaching a child to drive.
My son was coming home having played at a gig down in Coffs Harbour, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. He fell asleep at the wheel and he caused a major car accident. There were 5 cars involved and there was a fatality. Driver of one of the vehicles, he was a father and a husband. My son was convicted of dangerous driving occasioning death, and he was 17 at the time of the accident, and he spent 10 months in ACMENA, the juvenile facility down in Grafton. It was possibly the single most terrifying experience of my life. Being in the courtroom and listening to the victim impact statement from the wife of the gentleman who died, having the family present, listening to also aspects of how it had impacted on my son's life that I hadn't heard before. He made a statement to the court about the effect that it had on him, and there were things that had been going on that I hadn't been aware of for him. And then at the end, when he was convicted and led out the back by the police to go off to juvenile detention, it was just horrific. Then commenced the process of my son having his time in ACMENA. It was initially terrifying for him. It was, as a mother, it was terrifying because I'd always been able to help him in life. You know, if he encountered difficulties, his parents were always able to be there for him, and all of a sudden he was heading off into a world where we had absolutely no control, no ability to assist him in any way. We would visit him as often as we could, and they'd bring him out dressed in his white jumpsuit with the zip up the back and the cable tie to keep it closed. He'd ring us every day. He was allowed to ring us for, I think it was 3 minutes between 6 and 6:30, and we would all make sure we were available sitting by the phone, and the moment the 3 minutes were up, the phone call would just be terminated. There's no warning, just all of a sudden he's not there anymore. I felt emotions that I hadn't expected. I felt a lot of guilt because it was my child who'd caused this accident and which had resulted in the death of this guy. I also felt shame, but overwhelmingly, whatever we experienced was nothing compared to what the other family must have been going through. It had a huge impact on all of us. My daughter, who was two years younger than my son, she was very emotionally affected by it. My son, I know, still dreams about it. It's still very much, it's become a part of who he is in just so many respects. The facility that's proposed is something, its time is long overdue. I believe that, particularly in this area where there are so many horrendous car accidents involving young people, it's negligent of us not to provide better information, better training, better facilities, so that these kids, when they go out on the road, are better educated, safer drivers with a broader understanding of what the risks are that they're confronting.
I see 3 on board, 15 minutes ETA. When we get a call for a road crash, we don't know what we're going to. Often when we hear it's young people, we get very concerned because often it's not a good result. It has a great effect on the communities, so anything that we can do for road safety education for young people particularly, it would be a great blessing for the community. One of the hardest things when we know it's young people is a lot of us have got children of that particular age group, and it's a real worry that when we go to these accidents it's somebody we know or friends of our children. And it does have an effect on all the rescue people. You know, often people think that we're all brave and we don't have feelings, but we do. You know, I've seen ambulance guys break down and police break down and fireys break down, and my crew. This facility would be an absolute fantastic achievement. If it stopped the fatalities and the injuries, the ongoing injuries and lifetime changes for families and people, it would be the most fantastic thing in this world. Hopefully the young people can put their advice and training to their parents and other people. And if it results in lowering the road toll and injuries, that would be the best thing that we could ever have. People should support this driver education facility because it will save lives and reduce trauma and serious injuries on our roads.
Well, generally we're more worried about resources, you know, who we've got on the way, whether it's ambulance or fire. My first thoughts are obviously with the people in the car. We really hope that no one has died, but generally they will tell us prior to getting there if that's the case. And you sort of prepare yourself for that. The hardest part of policing is delivering death messages. Telling a parent that their child has been killed in a car crash is the worst job, and knowing that what you're about to tell them will change their lives forever. The community needs to understand the importance of driver education in teaching safer driving skills.
In one car was a family on holiday. 2 children in the back seat escaped serious injury, but unfortunately it was a different.
How important is this to your family?
If a seriously injured person from a motor vehicle accident makes it to the emergency department, they usually will survive. Unfortunately, their quality of life may not be as good as it once was. They may have to rely on their families to support them through the rest of their lives. One of the aspects of recovering from an accident is not necessarily the physical thing like a broken leg, but what happens in, say, a head injury. You can get depression, you can have problems with memory, and that can impact on the rest of your life, particularly if you're at school and you've got to study for exams and then going on to work. It can be a real struggle for people to deal with that side of an accident, that you don't necessarily see the physical changes that can happen with a broken leg.
Well, since Bryce died in 2006, I've been actively involved in trying to minimise the tragedies on the road, the loss of young lives on the road. It's how'd you say, it's been a long 10 years. And I know that in 2007 I was part of the advisory panel that changed a raft of laws in New South Wales. Since those laws have come in, we've saved almost 500 young lives in New South Wales. In addition to that, the passenger restriction laws have gone all around Australia to every state, with the exception of Northern Territory and Tasmania. So they've had similar results. I know in the first 12 months there was 48 young lives in New South Wales were saved as a result of those laws being implemented in 2007. I believe our Southern Cross Lads driver education facility will equip these young people with the skills that they need to become safe drivers and provide that on the road as courteous drivers as well, using low-risk driving skills that they learnt at the facility. All donations to LADS are tax deductible, so you know that your money is going into the regional community here. It's going to stay here. It's going to be a facility for the whole region to use. We can save some of our children, and it's going to be for their children after that. Southern Cross Lads needs your support to make this facility become a reality and be a regional resource for the future.
Driving a motor vehicle is one of the most dangerous activities that a young person will ever undertake. Most parents do not have the skills or time to teach their children how to drive a vehicle in the safest possible manner. That's why Rotary is supporting Southern Cross Lads to raise funds to build a driver education facility. This facility will teach young people safe driving skills on a controlled, purpose-built track before they take on the challenges of driving on public roads. Investing in proper driver training for your child will be the most important thing you ever do to keep them safe on the roads.
I don't have to explain the devastating impact that motor vehicle injuries and fatalities have on families and communities. The Southern Cross Lads Driver Education Facility will benefit all drivers, particularly young people, by teaching low-risk driving techniques. And we know this will lower the chance of inexperienced drivers having a crash. Stage 1 of the Driver Education Facility will provide a realistic, closed-road learning environment which doesn't have the pressures of a public road. The track features include sections with different road conditions, including a wet road, a roundabout, and an intersection. Once built, the Driver Education Facility will service from Coffs Harbour to the Queensland border and across to the New England Tablelands. We really need your help to achieve our goals of saving lives on our roads.
There are different ways to become involved with the Southern Cross Lads project. Donate through our website. Fundraise for us. See our website for a fundraising kit. You can become a member of Southern Cross Lads as an individual or as an organisation. Let's make this happen for the young people in our community.